everybody doing today? Was there a minor historical event that happened? Did something happen today? People seem really excited today. Paul, are you excited today?
Rachel, I don't keep up with anything or experience excitement about like anything, really. It's very difficult for me to muster up any enthusiasm, which is probably, it's more my fault than anything else, but
Yeah, yeah.
no, no, nothing happened today.
Good.
Nothing's
Well, nothing
happened.
happened today of interest to me either,
Let's wrap
except
the
for
stream.
this
That'll be it. Thanks,
giant
everybody.
semiotic fiasco that we can call the inauguration. Yeah, that one minor detail that was truly the spectacle on display. It was like if the Hunger Games and Ready Player One had a baby. It was, I guess, at least kind of reassuring because it means they've read at least one or two other books than Harry Potter at this point.
No,
You know, it
I want to take some issue with that because if it had been Ready Player One, it would have been references aimed at me that I would have gotten. And
Well, yeah. It was like Ready Player One for political nerds, for neoliberals.
so like nerds, like dork
Yeah.
nerds, like not like, oh, I like popular culture that's popular again now, but like actual nerd. Well,
Deep cut And really, is there anything sadder than a deep cut wonk? And I say this
I
as
don't
one,
know
right?
because I like expertise is good, and knowing specific things about it, things gives me someone to go, well, no, that should be their job because they know anything about it, and then I can just do what they say. If it's like, here, dig a ditch or whatever, great, I'll do that. Thank you, hydrologist. I mean, I do not wish to come off as too much of a technocrat, but yeah, I like a little. I'll take a little wonk here and there. I just want to see some credentials and hear a little bit more. I mean, like, I need you to work harder to tell me yes about unpopular things rather than
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
Like, no, yes about popular things rather than no about them in a complicated way.
absolutely. And I think that's kind of maybe the difference of like what I'm seeing versus
What
what I
wonk
wanted
really
to see.
is kind of that, right? Yeah, like I think is a prerogative, a pejorative. Good lord, a pejorative term for that variant on the theme of intelligentsia or academia.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Boom,
for
big
folks
words in
who
the stream. Watch out.
yeah. So for folks who have no fucking idea what I'm talking about, let me break this down a little bit. There is a branch of philosophy called semiotics that really focuses on signs. And when you hear sign, I don't mean this in the sense of like a religious sign telling you to do something. And I don't mean it in the sense of like a stop sign or a signpost. What I'm talking about is the very idea of symbols themselves, the way we use and consume symbols to contextualize and to create narratives about our daily experiences and the things happening in the world around us. There are a lot of different cognitive mechanisms that play into this that aren't like directly in the field of semiotics or semiotic philosophy. So I'm going to be
Well,
bringing a lot of that in too.
well,
But
a good
what I
bit of this
really want to talk
assumes,
about today,
and a
go
good bit of
ahead.
this assumes you have a symbolic, a system of symbols,
Yes.
language, and consciousness, and are operating as, well, let's call it people for now because that's just a simple baseline. That being said,
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
like
Yeah, and so what I'm going to be doing today is I'm mostly going to be making a case for political narrative being an actual meaningful mechanism of political behavior and political action. I know dialectical materialists are like probably pulling their hair out right the second. I promise. I will be supplementing this with a lot of like actual, substantial, factual information and data that are supporting this, and most of which has come out in the last like 20, 30 years, which is, well after Capital was written. So like just roll with me here. I promise we will get there. But first I just kind of want to talk some smack. I want to talk about like how ridiculous the whole thing was and how offensive the whole thing was and how just absolutely tone deaf it was. I'm thinking of this one moment uh, where Jennifer Lopez was standing there holding the microphone with two hands, and on either hand she had a diamond the size of my knuckles, and then diamonds the size of my knuckles hanging off her ears, just like absolutely like unimaginable wealth in the form of drip, right? And she was singing "This land is our land," but they cut out all of the overtly socialist verses. It was amazing.
So
It
like
was, you could not have made a
most of the
better
verse,
symbol.
that it.
Yeah, absolutely. They did. And I mean, it was quite truncated, and I'm sure intentionally, right?
I
Because they
don't
don't
know if
want to
you've
start
heard
talking
about
about private property, do you, Jennifer?
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Grape juice, the grape drink of wrath is not quite as potent, I guess, these days. We're mixing the powder thin. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like cynical and grotesque.
I mean, I will back up, and I want to. It's only more grotesque because it's the most grotesque version of a dumb thing. Like the
Okay.
inauguration is always a big pompous hullabaloo where the government acts like it knows any. Like I mean, where people like get the artists that they think are hip that supported their campaign to come to a
Mm-hmm.
thing. Normally, this is tedious and boring because these people don't. They're generally very old. Now we have media consultants that make them at least marginally hipper, which is all.
Yes.
I mean, like that is to say, it's not. It's only more offensive because we're more twittered and more. The world is more like it is than it's ever been and the world is awful. Let's not, it is all the things you said it was. But as an inauguration, this is a relatively benign one, except for the fact that they had all those people hanging around singing out loud together during a pandemic. And,
Yeah.
but I mean, I want to, like, not to speak in defense of this one, but to also cast aspersions on all previous inaugurations,
Yes.
sharing
Okay.
a lot of these traits. I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah. They are always this.
We are, yeah, we definitely are in the most aggressive version of things being stupid.
Yeah, well, and I mean,
Which, again, keep slagging it off because it was hideous, but it's not. It is not intentionally. It doesn't feel like an insult. It is merely an accident of the
yeah.
circuit.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's the thing, right? The obliviousness of it is part of what makes it so just viscerally enraging. You know, it's the woman saying, you know, this land is our land when, you know, they're literally on grounds that were taken by force with genocide, you know, in service to people who have killed, you know, thousands of people depending on, you know, their place of birth
So
and, you
you say
know,
you don't feel like this is what the author intended.
it's a little bit disingenuous.
Yeah, no,
As a
I mean, like,
unity song,
there
it's
are other folk
disingenuous.
songs about 'em. There are other sing-along songs vaguely about America that aren't actively socialist that you could sing all the lyrics of that aren't also not like even morally offensive in any particular way. Where it's like, oh, that's a song about killing people. Like, let's not sing that one, guys, which is a lot of them. Um,
Yeah, well, and I don't know if it was meant to be like a kick in the ass or like an olive branch or what. You know, if it was an olive branch, they really did not stick the landing. Like they definitely didn't succeed if they were trying to like sell the left by saying this land is our land, and when they clearly meant that in like the literal sense as landlords.
is it that the entire political consultancy has reached a point of economic power over their workplace that they can no longer be told no by anyone at all?
Yes,
Like, I mean,
it's
that's gotta be like you've seen like that happens all over everything, right? We're like, oh, like I've been in houses where that's like, oh, no one told the person building this that they could just not that they shouldn't do any number of things. They just said, yeah, fine, we'll fucking build it. Go. Yeah.
yeah.
We'll put little stone features on every one, like whatever ridiculous feature you see of anything, really, where it's like, oh, someone said, no, I'll take the check rather than have this argument.
Well, and I think probably
Because
there's
as you
probably a lot of people who are watching this who've had this experience because we sort of live in that world where like most of us, if we're remotely creative, are just cranking out bullshit that won't matter in a year for some, you know, middle manager. Uh, but also
Hey, some of us might even be those middle managers. And really, they no real issue with that because that's just a job where you're getting paid about what a person should be paid to live, but that's the
Mm-hmm.
price of getting it. On the other hand,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like,
I mean,
no,
middle managers are as good as they are people. Like, I've met
it's
people
the
who were,
C-suite and the spreadsheets that support them that are the like
yeah,
major.
right, right.
Show me a
That being
graph
said, I
that
mean,
knows what I
obviously
want.
we are deeply anti-bureaucracy and anti-office politics here. No gods, no masters, no managers, right?
No offer,
That being said,
which is nice. So
um,
that solves a lot of that.
yeah, and aesthetic objections to the side. Um,
Oh no, it was
I could,
generally hideous. You're right. You're not wrong. I just yeah. But like marching
yeah,
band,
yeah.
it's always marching band. That shit's always militaristic as fuck and stupid.
God, just John Philip Sousa forever until you're dead. Like John Philip Sousa with a side of here's a bullet. Like,
Oh, my dad
welcome to
loved
America,
that
folks.
shit. My dad
Yeah.
may still love that shit, but I just
Yeah, and
couldn't.
that's fine. Old people love John Philip Sousa because they're old, and
Hey,
that's
it gets
fine.
it's got some pomp to it, but you're like, this is a lot of.
You're like, that
All
shit's
right, it's got like an
pomp to
alarm
you.
clock thing to it. Fair.
Yeah, right. Okay. So anyway, putting all of that shit to the side, all of my aesthetic objections to the side, I want to talk about why they were doing really everything they were doing, right? Because it's not just that they have this inauguration, they are commenting on it the entire time, right? And this is the role of the media interceding between the events themselves and the viewer. This is how the media tells you what to believe about what you see, right? So I watched the CBS presentation. I'm not even going to try and comment on any of the other ones. I am not so masochistic as to watch more than one, you know, organization's coverage of this. So if other people are doing the same shit, great. If they're not, great, whatever. Because no matter which place you watched it, you're going to be seeing kind of the same threads, except for Fox. But you know, that's fucking, those people are insane. They have no idea what's
They
happening
may not
anymore.
have actually covered it.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure they did.
there's this sort of,
Don't
right.
at
There's
us.
this, yeah. So there's this like large narrative they're trying to push about, you know, healing and unification and sort of triumph over adversity and going back to our roots as these, you know, gung-ho democratic cooperative pro-social people. But they're not going to do any of that. They are literally just trying to convince people it's going to be okay now so that people will look away, so that people will feel sufficiently reassured to check out, because that's what they really want. They want you to check out. The scrutiny that's been on the government for the last 4 years has been bad for all of them, right? Because so much of what they do is deeply cynical and morally abhorrent. And the closer you watch them, the worse they look. Uh, and it is able to do that. These things are able to work the way that they do because when we think about the world, when we look at events around us, when we plan our actions, are trying to fit events into the existing structures of understanding we have, right? So we are trying to sort of path of least resistance, understand our world by contextualizing it around things we already know.
No, let's be fair. This is way easier than others. Come on. Come on. Like, think about how lazy all of us are and how that's like a strong evolutionary path. Like, everything pushes towards that because low
Oh,
effort,
yeah,
low energy consumption.
absolutely.
This is they call it efficiency in the board collectives. Um, but yeah, so this is a reasonable place to land. Like, it's not yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's where we all land. I want to put a thing.
Also,
I want to think,
we
put a
have
thing in the
the
box I own.
also hi, we have beautiful Miss Powers. We are talking
Hello.
about how semiotics work,
Oh, you already had
what the
me.
sign is. I know, right? If
We're
I'm
not that
talking
far in.
language.
No.
So we're talking semiotics, we're talking science, and we are talking about the inauguration and why they use the kinds of symbols they do, and also why the media is commenting on them, and why there is sort of this united force uh, to get people to basically think everything's going to be okay now, right? Because ultimately, the purpose of the inauguration was to placate the American people, to give people just enough that they don't literally riot tonight. And honestly, I would be surprised if we don't riot anyway. People are really angry, and I don't see Jennifer Lopez singing a socialist anthem decked out in giant diamonds, making people less angry.
I mean, like, so my double blind nil theory of the election, I will bring back up to the fore just one last time because it's dead now. But nobody wanted to be giving the speech today where they said, "Hey, Christmas didn't happen and everything's still fucked." Sorry, nope. Neither of the candidates wanted to give that speech, so everybody tried to duck all the books. That's for spades players. It doesn't matter. But that speech was nothing like that said what the truth was at all. It's like, right, nobody said, "Hi, Christmas didn't happen, everyone's still dying, nothing will change." And
Yeah.
that is very like,
I'd respect that so much more.
well,
Right?
yeah, you would love to hear somebody tell you to you straight at any point from any position of authority at any time
Yeah.
soon or recently.
At any
Yeah,
job I've had, if I don't get the project done, I don't like continue to do well at work because I kept lying about whether or not the project was done.
I mean, yeah. Like, that's any other profession in existence. If you did this poorly, you would be fired. And actually, at previous historical points, if you had done this poorly, you would just be dead. They would ransack your house and they would kill you for doing this badly.
mandate
like,
heaven, baby.
Kings have died for less, folks. So the fact that they're trying to sell this entirely artificial narrative, about everything's going to be okay.
Well, the alternative is what scares me more. Like, I was thinking a few years ago about like psychedelic music. I'm like, is psychedelic music the music that like, is it the music of psychedelia? Is there something inherent to the genre, or is it just the music that people on drugs want to make? Like, is this for the people, or is it just like a tripping person with a guitar? And we're going to the semiotics discussion. It's like, yes, the thing we think of as the Illuminati does not exist as the Illuminati, but definitely exists.
Right.
And how much of it is that, and how much of it is just
to be lizard people. They're already raping children on Rape Island as people.
What I mean is, like, what if they are the ones who really just think it's okay? What if these are the things that people do who feel placated? And they're like, thank God this is all over. Everything's going to go back to normal now. Everything's going to be great because I'm in charge and we're in charge. What if this is genuine and earnest?
I mean, I think it is.
That's the scary part. Yeah.
Yeah. God. I mean, yeah, I think for a lot of them it is. For a specific kind of comfortable person, they really believe that Donald Trump was a fluke, and I think it is a grave error to present it that way, or to act like, all of these things are so simply resolved. You can't just do a couple of executive orders day one and expect these tensions to, disappear. And to be fair, I don't think they've been really like trying to sell that to us so much as just trying to say, we're going to do it, and that's great. I would love it if they did.
Except for the things I could do immediately with an executive order, which I won't do. Those things I very specifically won't do, but anything else is possible.
And it's just a bunch of promises they don't intend to keep,
I got into an argument with someone on Twitter. After going back and forth for like 20 tweets, it turns out that all he really wanted me to do was look at the list of the executive orders Biden is signing today and being like, yes, this is good. This is a good thing. And he was like, okay, I'm satisfied. Like, just wanted to make sure you weren't just like shitting all over this moment. It's like, well, those aren't mutually exclusive. Yeah, sure. Anything that benefits the people around me in the country or the world in a material way, hell yeah, I'm for.
Yeah.
Like, super
That's
for.
why I voted for the old piece of shit. Like,
right.
But the things on the list are also half measures. And like, we're talking about executive orders where it's like, oh, you could just do shit. Like, these are like, so there are things that, like, that are within the authority of the president to just fucking do. Like straight up student loan cancellation is within the authority of the executive branch to straight settle at zero for everyone or settle at money paid. The government loses $1.2 trillion, quote, of collateral they use to finance other projects. It's not actually worth that much because they're never going to get that back. Like, that's not how you value paper debt, right?
Right.
Do it by what's on the note. You fucking assholes. You're not going to get any of this. So like writing it down is a very doable presidential act. Like, with like,
man, leftists are just never satisfied. When are leftists going to be satisfied?
When
right.
my
Well, and I
life
think
is
that
substantially better, and I feel like there's a future. Good Christ! I mean, I'm sorry.
I know we all know.
No, we can role play. I'll be the ignorant person.
Talk about it, right?
Be the lib. Yeah. So no, I think this is why I want to talk about semiotics as such, right? Because within semiotics, there is this concept of the simulacrum, right? And the simulacrum is a sign that has sort of transcended itself and become self-edifying, right? So like freedom, right? There's this idea of freedom. And in the United States, we have freedom, and democracy means freedom, and the bald eagle means freedom, and the stars and stripes mean freedom. And like suddenly there is this sort of snowball effect where just the loose concept of freedom as such has become tied in with all of this like deep nationalist propagandizing, right? And these things become bigger than themselves.
I'm seeing a lot of that with unity. That word specifically, I think it's become even bigger than freedom right now.
Yes, and that's exactly what I wanted to actually say next. But I'll let you go ahead and take it from here and talk about it a bit if you want.
Freedom's already loaded. Like you can't reload freedom with more garbage content. Like freedom has like an actual relationship to all of the things you said it was balled up with, but it has a real historical relationship to democracy, which is popular, like all the things like the popular franchise and the stripes, which represent these like all the things that actually make that. But no, it is just a big vague gray ball of freedom, and I think you can't jam any more non-content in there. Unity, on the other hand, you're right. Brand new jar of garbage.
Semiotically overloaded in the same way that freedom is. Like, we're technically free. Like no one's like literally sitting on my body right at this moment, like hitting me with a bat. Like, okay, I mean, guess I'm free.
Tell that to my spine.
To the public, this is huge. Like what we're allowed. Like this in itself is a great form of personal liberty. However.
Sure. Yeah. Like unity is more than just like being together. It's like, all right, so you say we're here. I agree. Who moves over here? Who moves over here? What does it look like? Who am I supposed to be united with? Who's supposed to do the uniting? You're the one talking about unity. Like, are you coming this way then? Oh no, you're talking about unity, meaning you come over there. Okay, got it.
Right. Well, and I think
they're had a good one for this, which that was if you think Jesse Helms and I are one, you got another think coming. Like, oh, all humankind is one. Oh no. Like and that is an important thing to remember. Like Jesse Helms and I ain't one. We're not colleagues. We're not unified in our love because I don't want to go over there. I can't go that far, and he won't come here.
But then you're the incalcitrant one. Yeah, that's the null. Like the power of setting the null hypothesis, right? Like I'm sitting right here, whether or not I moved over here over a long period of time, or whether I'm like throwing shit at you from over here, my power has been used in deciding that where I am is the neutral ground. You are now outside of my sphere, and you were the one who was ununified, who was me.
Right. Well, and that's why, unity itself is such a superficial promise to make. Because it always invariably comes down to unity in the form of, no, you're going to do my thing. And that's how it is every time the Democratic Party starts talking about it. It's always this very superficial kind of unity that really boils down to, you're going to stop complaining now. And that doesn't work, right? And I think they are very intentionally using, this deeply loaded concept of unity because it gets them out of having to explain a lot of stuff. Right? Because they're just sort of relying on people's existing ideas about what unity means and sort of hoping that people won't notice they haven't gotten any more specific than that, right? And they're letting people project their expectations into this word of unity so that they can kind of do nothing. They can promise nothing. And if it doesn't work out, it's actually your fault. And that's just how they're going to play it because that's how they always play it. Anyway.
All right, so let's get back to the thing itself. So what we can vaguely poke at the idea of unity, but we're yelling at the semiotic content specifically of the pageant. So
yes.
Where are we? We got my land is your land cut up into chunks. We've got jewelry on. We got lots of demonstrations of wealth.
Yes.
And, I mean.
Well, and massive demonstrations of power as such, right? it was very clearly designed to convey we're in charge now. We're respectable, we're powerful, we're approved of by all of the power players. Like, we are the nobility and we are rising again, qua noblesse oblige, to wipe away the suffering and famine with our many, many powerful friends and dollars.
We didn't just eke out a victory. We
replaced it by right.
We didn't just finish power sharing with people whom we resoundingly beat and have been saying are evil for the last 4 years.
And we're currently in the process of attempting to compromise with more.
Yeah, no, it's a fucking disgrace. But
so unity for us is you shut up and sit down. Unity, if you across the war boundary, is truly a love one's enemy kind of feel.
Well, and you mentioned the thing in itself. I want to talk about what unity actually would look like for us. Because it's not going to look like the things they're going to try and sell you. You know, it's not going to look like Mike Pence getting invited to the party, or inevitably, I am calling this, I've been calling this, I will continue to call this, Joe Biden is going to pardon Donald Trump. And they are going to use their collective power, the Joe Biden, Barack Obama, the Joe Biden, Barack Obama supergroup, Hillary Clinton, all of them are going to exert 100% of their power on making sure that he also gets pardoned of all of his state crimes in the city of New York. So he's gonna get away with it in the name of unity. Let's talk about that first. That's not what it's actually going to look like if we unify as a nation, right? Actual unity in politics is affecting the changes everybody agrees on. For example, 70% of Democrats think we should have Medicare for all. That's a pretty good idea. That's some pretty solid unity right there. Why didn't you campaign on it? Where's that?
And if Democrats would describe it accurately and in depth, other people might hear about that and be like, oh shit, actually I do hate my health insurance company. They are awful and every interaction with them is a living nightmare.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Also, another kind of unity that I would really like to see, the vast majority of people agree that marijuana should just be legalized. It shouldn't be a Schedule 1 substance.
I really thought that was going to be the October surprise.
Right? Like you talk about bipartisan issues. That is extremely bipartisan.
Deprioritization of scheduling of drugs is an executive order game. Like that is a priority of the administration.
Yes.
And the schedules are described by Congress. Cannabis is by definition just shouldn't be in one because it is prescribed by doctors for medical purposes. Thus can't be categorized as one sort of by tautological reasons. But that doesn't, but we don't do that. But again, chief executive can just say, hey, stop it. Fucking stop it, y'all. Come on.
Yeah. For the non-wonks, go ahead and define tautological real quick as you're using it there.
Oh, tautological, self-defining. That is to say, because of the definition of Schedule 1 being not no medical use, if doctors prescribe it, it has a medical use.
Yes, there's a contradiction in itself.
The category cannot hold the thing by its by its name.
And obviously, legislation is the only real love language here, but this is where going back to honesty and just telling it how it is. I am, just fucking go to our personal lives. It's like if a person's look, I can't be the person you want me to be right now, and I can't do the things you need me to do right now, but I understand what you need and why you need it, and I promise I am trying, and this is where I'm falling short. That is the lowest fucking bar, but we can't even get close to that around platitudes. Yeah. I would really believe someone is unified with me, even if they're not going to do the shit I want. If they can at least really communicate, speak to me, knowing that I have the grievances that I do.
I'm sorry, I have to convince my donors to give you what you want is also a difficult speech to make in the snow.
Yes, absolutely.
But
But I would appreciate it more. I would like it if they at least were honest about it. It's the dishonesty
feel being called out like that, though.
Oh yeah, of course not. They don't want to be called out. But I mean, that's the thing. It's this entire,
All I did was vote. They did also so much more.
Oh yes. Never mind the thousands of people who were canvassing in the frickin' cold during a pandemic. Those people don't count. They were paid by somebody's money some of them. Yeah, no,
I do wonder what we could have done with $830 million besides have everyone walk around in the cold. But I mean, I'm glad it worked out in the better of the two available ways.
Indeed. Well, hey, it is about that time where we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a question from the audience that I think is really good, and so we can talk about that a little bit. And then, I don't know, we'll see where the mood takes us. Go from there.
But yes, do stick around. I like this. Oh, that's a good question. Well, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, it's a good question. We'll talk about it in a sec. And we're back. Hi again.
Hello.
So I hope y'all had a wonderful 60 seconds while, you were waiting for us to get back. I personally had a great time. I just sat here. I cracked my back a bunch. It was really relaxing and soothing, actually. So
I'm gonna hear that next time.
God, it's loud is the thing. I think if I started actually resetting and adjusting my joints on air, people would never forgive me because it sounds kind of like
ASMR. Popcorn. Let's go.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I totally could do that. I could just get like a super. I love you, and I'm so glad you are always here to help me improve my grift. All right.
Back to an old classic that I've been saying for quite some time is that everyone, please stop describing your bodies.
I think we all kind of wish we weren't embodied after the age of 30 or so. So we're back. We have a question from Dark Sage 9117 or 9117 or 9117. I don't know. Dark Sage, series of numbers, asks, do you see any chance of a populist-style Republican candidate being able to win the governorships of Massachusetts or Vermont in 2022? I live in Massachusetts, and Charlie Baker is a liberal Republican who is very popular with voters. If we ran a populist-style candidate against him, would that be viable in a deep blue state like Massachusetts? So, to sort of lay out what that question is asking as I understand it, right? The first question is, if there is a very populist or very popular populist Republican candidate, are you better off running a populist Democrat or leftist, or are you better off running towards the center and trying to court the moderate voters who are maybe more put off by a populist candidate? What do y'all think? I have ideas, but I'll go last.
I mean, populism, it's in the name. It's popular. You are offering people you are offering broad-based support platform programs. That is the point of being able to, being a populist is ultimately that you are not, it is not always actually intended to have those policies, but you are certainly making appeals to people's actual needs or perceived needs, which they have a lot of. So if you showed up and said, hi, I want to spend your tax money on stuff for you, I think that works wherever you go. And I think you see sort of woke populism is working on the Republican Party already. So maybe I don't know a huge amount about the electoral politics of the Northeast, but I mean, yeah, everyone likes stuff they like. I mean, yeah, that's and like rhetoric that appeals to them. Whether you can ball up enough people Yeah, well, that is then the job of thousands of consultants to suck millions and millions of dollars out of your world, like just happened in Georgia. Good luck, have fun, you're gonna get a lot of mail, and then a bunch of stuff from December is going to show up after all of the mailers come through.
Oh God, you're right.
Oh no, it's happened. I'm already getting it. It's like fucking. I got Christmas cards and shit that is like I don't. Oh right, that. Wow, sure, Christmas. I remember this.
Priority mailer. Ada, what do you think?
I mean, I agree to the extent that it really depends on the details of the person, people. Like when I read a liberal Republican who's very popular with voters, why is he popular with voters? Is it because he's a Republican who doesn't suck? So a lot of the people who are effectively Republicans but still live in Massachusetts get to feel good about themselves? Is it just like position along an axis based on vague statements? Is it also literally what he's promising? So yeah, curious for your thoughts, Rachel.
Because people are governors
now,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when we talk about right populism, we are often talking about specifically appeals to like ethnicity or religion or, sort of identity-based and white supremacy-rooted social institutions. So my concern here would be, and I don't know a whole lot about Charlie Baker, but my concern here would be, okay, is he approaching this as like a right populist? I would assume so, because you can't really be a Republican and not be a deficit hawk, right? So we kind of have to assume that he's coming at this from some like ethno-nationalist angles, or I would anyway. Wow. And so if you're trying to run up against that, I mean, you really have to be able to mobilize people. Like, it's going to be way more about how many bodies you can turn out than it's going to be about like how much people like the candidate. That's why, people poured so much money into Georgia. That's why Ossoff and Warnock ultimately got elected, was because of the extraordinary amounts of money they poured into just being annoying about it. The thing that makes left populism useful as like a campaign strategy is it mobilizes people. People will not just show up to the polls for somebody who's actually offering them like succor or relief. They will show up and canvass in the cold for free. They will literally put their hours of their life, everything they have, into making this reality, happen, because it directly benefits them. And that's something that no right populist can ever do, because they're just not going to be able or willing to make those kinds of material promises.
I want to just drop in here, having reviewed very briefly Governor Baker's Wikipedia page. Mm-hmm. He is downright Maoist by Georgia standards. Like,
okay, let's hear it.
He's pro-choice. He's pro. Okay. He actually built plans to take underutilized land for affordable housing, pay equity bills to adjust gender gap pay. He supports the death penalty, but again, like, this guy is vaguely speaking. He's Joe Biden. He's basically sits in the Senate. He is vaguely speak. Yeah, again, you can't really run on stock Democrat policy for this. Massachusetts does have a high infection and death rate and nursing homes, but that's, again, everyone sucks at this. So like, ultimately this is again, by Georgia standards, that he's pro-choice.
Yeah, I mean,
they would shoot you here. No, they that's not how it works yet anymore. But again, this is not the Republican Party anymore yet, which we're in a nice softer-ish period of that right now. I know.
Yeah.
But that being said, like, it's going to be weird. Also, Ashley, there is absolutely every chance Biden will get the 10K student loan forgiveness done, because that is something where they're going to pay private lenders just money. They're just going to give money to private lenders, so the government doesn't lose any assets, and the people that actually own the notes will get paid. So,
what about that thing I saw about it actually be contingent on 10K a year for 5 years of some sort of eligible service. That was a policy
on the list. Yeah, the 10K. Well, the one 10K that I've seen him definitely push. Yes, I'll do is for private loans. It's
which is great because the vast majority of student loans are not even private.
And again, because it's private loans, they're going to write
this tiny sliver. But it's going to sound really good because they're going to say we did student loan forgiveness, and people are going to completely gloss over the fact where they did student loan forgiveness for specifically like the top 10% of people who are able to get a private loan, and then the bottom 2% of people who go to a school that's predatory and basically a loan factory,
and the $1.2 trillion of undischargeable, rapidly increasing and recapitalizing debt that will ultimately never largely be repaid, just because they just can't. I mean, they won't. It's not fair. Fucking that. It's that it's not.
I mean,
fair. There's no.
They have built these systems in a way that makes them unsustainable as such. So, I mean, they're going to do a bunch of stopgap fixes that are primarily rhetorical. So, will they technically do a 10K student loan forgiveness? Yeah. Is it going to help you? Probably not. Probably not, because they're going to means test everything. They're going to, chip away at everything. They were literally today during the inauguration, as everybody was sort of filtering out and entertainment was being performed, talking about how they're going to have to compromise because they only have a slim majority. And I'm like, you have all of them. You have every branch of government. You know what I would be doing right now? I would be literally socialism go boom, just churning it out. Yeah, I would be.
Who's fighting a war right now? Everyone's staying home. Let them keep last year's bullets. I mean, that's a simplification of it, but do we really need to spend that much on military this year? And that isn't getting the troops vaccines. Great. Spend it on that if that's what we're fucking doing, but that's not what it is. Yeah. Sorry, jumped it.
No, I'm with you. No, I mean, I agree, right? I want to see some kind of decisive action, and I don't think we're going to, because as much as there are a bunch of, sort of milquetoast Republicans who are pro-choice that, are trying to challenge Democrats in presumably safe districts, there's also a bunch of Democrats who are just Republicans. Feinstein's never going to agree to anything that materially impacts her, Joe Manchin's never going to agree to anything that materially impacts him. There will be enough defectors who are just cynical, new Democrat capitalists who will every single time side with the bourgeoisie. And I don't think we're going to see the kind of change we need. That's why I've been so doomer about all of this, is because I don't believe they're going to do it. I think they're going to continue to make all of these empty gestures towards equity and towards unity and towards improvement, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to nickel and dime themselves into something that is means tested and insufficient, and at best gives us another 6 to 10 months before it completely collapses at the expense of people dying.
That's
that's fucking bummer. But
so in answer to your question, Dark Sage, yes, you can, because you can run on Democrats suck and Republicans suck, because the person you're running against is both, and that is that's the path forward, right, for electoralism for this stuff at all, because clearly they can wear both hats. Sorry.
Right.
This is wow. Sorry, entire brain fart there. Oh no, this is the joke of the universe. How you're taking the cynical takes aside that all power is power and they don't actually care about doing good. Let's assume that there's some earnestness in there. This is where
just with some mechanism. Sure. Yeah.
This is where scarcity mindset comes in. If we do all these things, then we'll get trounced in the next election by the Republicans because we ran so far to the left that they're going to yank us back to the right and we'll get destroyed. It's really more
on these policies, you'll be able to say, we got you shit.
Right. Yeah. And that's where it comes down to. And this is where going back to populism too, there's more than one kind of populism, right? Just saying something that is popular there's lots of stuff that is popular, like abortion rights being a good example of like that is popular on both sides, very strong. Anyone who runs with that is technically going in a populist direction. But then there's a kind of populism, like you said, Paul, like that makes you want to canvass, or Rachel, like makes you want to go out and like put your body on the line. And that's the kind of populism that isn't being like, that's the stuff that you want that like you and only your friend, you thought that you were the only one talking about, right? Like the stuff that you care about, that America cares about, that lots of people care about, that never gets brought up or addressed. You hear someone start talking about that, that's when you want to put your body on the line, because it's like it brings in that scarcity mentality in a good way. It's like, oh, if I let this one get away, they'll be the one who got away.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Social Security, any of that, all of the social insurance that's part of that just didn't exist. The idea of it was madness until, oh, right, we're doing that because everyone's going to starve to death if we don't. Fuck. Great. Get on the ball, team. I mean, you know, like Green New Deal is a lot of its vague propositions, but at least it's aspirational towards some objective that's good. Fuck.
Somehow incremental.
At least it's like a, hey, we'll try something.
Somehow like that one, that's the power of the null hypothesis. Like, prove to me that the Green New Deal is worth implementing right now, or we're not going to touch it. But like this over here isn't what you wanted it to be, but we got to take small steps at a time.
Like I can show you there are small steps in towards those goals that we already know what they are. If you ask we were talking at the beginning, wonks versus actual experts. There's this line of like, oh, what's your job? Oh, my job is to explain why we should do the popular thing that's expensive for rich people, versus my job is to tell you why you can't have popular thing because it actually destroys America.
Like that's the nature of a PR firm, right? Like that's what PR firms do. And that's why I keep bringing us back to the sign and the symbol and the spin, right? Because there is an entire political class of lampreys whose entire existence is attaching themselves to the side of a politician and amorally spinning everything they do into something palatable that won't ruin the politician financially. And they are where all of this comes from. And they're not stupid. These are smart people. These are educated people who are using their powers for evil because it's financially useful.
Ashley, speaking and actually to respond back and wrap Ashley's question, because it's financially useful to even talk about the idea of student loan forgiveness, that's done its job. The likelihood is infinite because all of the student loan process is governed entirely by executive authority. He can just do whatever he wants. That is like settling those debts is absolutely just something he can do. So the likelihood of it actually doing it's not passed, it's actually doing it. And he's not gonna. He's told us he's not gonna do it, and we have to. I mean, even if he does what he offers, that's not enough. And he has the ability to just do what he could just say. Hey, everybody, I canceled all your student loans. Everyone that's like, I hate student loan forgiveness. Oh, well, I paid mine off. Those people were already voting fucking Republican. There's nothing to lose. Like,
right. Well, those are the people who actually paid off their student loans already are rich. What they are is rich.
They're smart. They're like, no, I benefit from living in a world where that happens to everyone else.
I loved Bernie, not because he was the guy I agreed with the most, but he was the grumpiest motherfucker I agreed with the most. Right? Like, I want the people who are going to dig in their heels and be like, fuck you, this is happening. That's the kind of who aren't afraid to look bad or ugly for a second on TV if you're going to get shit done.
Oh, when Dick Durbin came out from behind his back to pull that fucking, well, we passed the NDAA for every 60 years. Like, dude, everything is on fire. Like,
literally,
every email starts with these unprecedented times. Fucking slow your roll. Like,
fucking Papa John's is talking about how bad things are. Like, come on, man. Like,
maybe we can take a break on the bullets and bombs bill for a second.
This shit's gotten so bad that Denny's came to me. Like,
hey, are you all right? Do you need French toast sticks? We can mail them to you.
Do you need to be in a Denny's where things feel safe again?
Download our app where you can put and build this cardboard box out of the French toast sticks box, and you can feel like you're in a Denny's.
Denny's is just gonna come out with like an augmented reality simulation of Denny's.
It's gonna look like wearing a little Denny's on your head. It's gonna be shaped like Denny's.
I'm gonna go
the
there
little, like,
wearing
binoculars
it.
You get with your phone. It's gonna happen, y'all. This is the sign. The sign is a virtual Denny's that they're going to just give you, that you're going to use like a QR code for, and then you put it up on your face with some cardboard mailer they sent you. And that's going to be how they put you back in Denny's. You're going to just have a completely artificial, like, unsatisfying experience where you had it delivered to you by whichever,
Also, this
delivery
is in
company partners with Denny's.
This is instead of the money, just to be very clear.
To be clear. Yeah.
It's a whole
that's what they're going to do.
Horror story in one device. I love it.
An absolute legal liability shield for the whole thing, really. Like anything that happened last year or in the next year, no company could be held liable for.
And, then they're going to pelt you with Xanax and Vicodin until you figure it out. And that's going to be what we actually get. Because we live in hell world.
I would take that, honestly, at this point.
Part of Medicare all everyone wants.
The worst part is I would consider it.
I know not to fuck around and get my leg broken. Besides that, it'll drive me into bankruptcy, idiots.
I hear a lot about opiate at the masses, but I'm the masses right now, and I don't see any opiates.
No, sorry, you're thinking hydrocodone. Y'all. Yeah.
Oxycontin. You don't want to be hitting the Midwest for that. Oh, that's what makes all this conspiracy shit. Like the Q shit is also we gotta reach out to these people because there are actual conspiracies full of bonkers people, fucking kids, and we can put this energy to good use. Like there are real people doing most of the things they describe in real life that we could actually put in jail. Just redirect them. Just get them out from in front of the 3%ers and shit, because those guys are going to be happy to sell them more Protocols of the Elders of Zion and all of the fucking old Berger shit that has been rolling forever.
Well,
sorry, that's just a side note. So more of the spectacle. What else you got? What else we got here? We got marching band music. We've got women in diamonds singing half of a socialist song. We've got all the songs your money could ask for. You got everyone wearing purple, which. Everyone says it's unity, and I think your take is right.
It's just that she likes purple. She just likes the color purple. All right, have you met a person that likes purple? We're all like this. We all get everything in purple. You know why? Because most stuff doesn't come in purple, and when they do have purple, it's exciting. So you get it. That's why we're like this. It's just a color. It's just a fucking color.
But purple's the exact sort of cringe that makes me believe that they think they're doing a unity.
I wish I was dead. No, I mean, the good thing is... Oh, shit!
When did you get a job with the Biden administration? You didn't tell us.
6, 7, and that's... So like the purple people
I'm in my gray phase right now, but a few years ago, whole closet, entire closet.
Yeah. Well, gray is like optimistic black, right?
It really,
I guess is where we are, right? We are in the time.
Michelle Obama looked like a supervillain. I will say that. And
no, that outfit was fucking great. Are you kidding?
Big old round belt buckles, very X-Men.
I loved it. It was so good. That was like Queen bitch Dom vibes. Just like stepping on people.
It's fun. There's explosions and like colors and stuff.
I mean, I like fireworks.
I don't. I really. And I didn't know that they could make them make noise again. Not like they don't have to make noise, but they make them make noise because you expect it. But that's not a feature of modern fireworks.
Where's your shatter and kaboom?
Yeah.
No, why wouldn't we want to terrorize me personally? And bats. Like bats can't like that at all.
Oh, and God, yeah, that has to be really bad for bats. Well,
I mean, we don't know about dogs and veterans because there are various campaigns, but no one's like, hey, bats. There's
Byron is suffering right now.
Me and bats. I'm neither veteran nor dog, but I am sad about loud, which is ironic because of how much I shout. Let's move on. My personal faults. There's plenty of room in here for everybody.
It's a gentle volume, not a staccato blast.
Well, I think we have devolved into just absolute abject madness. So,
but ultimately, let's wrap it. They did show us what they showed us. They showed us their approach. It looks like, whether intentionally, because they wanted to show us something, or because this is the feature of a person this is how a person who believes everything is all better, which it's possible. You may have to be face down in the flavor aid to be a Democratic operative, to operate at that level of Washington. You may, in fact, have to be that bought in, to be that. It all has to be
entirely lost in the sauce.
I spent the whole
have to be a true
3 years making this guy president because it was going to save everyone. It's done that, hasn't it? We paid me a lot of money to do that, didn't we?
Well, and at the end of the day, this is media made by people who have very little direct interaction with working people, with suffering, with any of the strife their actions are, inevitably creating. And
same reason no TV describes a job correctly, because you have to work your whole life to become a TV writer and can't have any other job or expertise.
Yes, you have to only do that, right?
Which is why
same kind of shit with being a podcaster. Fun fact: you just have to do this all of the time and produce ludicrous amounts of content, and then you develop a following. I think
Time podcast. We're covering the dice fudging incident on Taz in the first season. We spend 6 years going into every item, every role. We talk it through. We spend a lot of time unpacking the spaces, and then I'm going to kill myself. Rachel, please.
Yeah, listen, we're really living up to being millennials with this one. Sorry, folks. It's because we've been watching this happen in slow motion for 15 years. I wanted to wrap us up by talking about what these people are banking on, and also what we can use to finally release ourselves from this just hell world samsara where we are trapped in a cycle of being born over and over again into suffering.
So like a sort of prayer devotional.
Yes. Ending the cycle of reincarnation, as it were. I want to talk about Hofstadter loops, which are a model of artificial intelligence that I think really, really helps understand the way political narrative influences behavior. Okay? So when we talk about people having free will, that's not exactly true. And that's like a whole separate podcast episode. I'll probably start doing it eventually. I need to make more content anyway. And just sort of take it as such, right? When we talk about free will, it's way more complicated than I decided to do a thing. What we're really doing is we are projecting an idea of ourselves forward. This is called autonoetic memory. And in projecting this abstract idea of ourselves forward, we are training ourselves to make a certain decision that we want to make, right? This is like what makes human sentience so special, is our ability to do specifically this, to imagine ourselves as we are not. So a Hofstadter loop is inserting into the program an idea, right, that this could be a thing, so that when the set of circumstances arrive, it does the thing. When big shows like the inauguration hit the air, when this giant spectacle of, the inauguration, this pageantry, is being presented on every single media platform, every kind of entertainment you might tune into. And the message is the same, right? Hallelujah. We are saved. We are freed from this nightmare. Things are going to be okay now, right? The reason they're telling you that is because they want to make sure that you act like things are going to be okay now, even when they might not actually be okay. They are trying to convince you to contextualize the bad things that are happening around you as exceptions rather than rules. And they are going to keep doing this. They are going to keep minimizing the actual toll of all of the horrific things that are happening. They're going to keep maximizing their praise for the Biden administration and for every single thing Democrats do, no matter how insufficient it is. And they're going to be, every step of the way, trying their best to tell you that everything is okay now and things are better now. And our job as organizers, as leftists, is going to be figuring out how to get people to believe their lying eyes. Anyway, that's my spiel. That's what I think we should do about this moving forward. You know, they can do information campaigns, but so can we. We have some really brilliant and emotionally intelligent people working in our ranks, and we can absolutely create messaging that is both superior and more appealing and infinitely more honest.
And maybe or maybe not sponsored by Denny's.
Look, listen, Denny's, like, if you want to do it, like, I'm here for it. Like, we can do, like, Denny's. Hit me up. I actually am a developer. I could make it for you.
Do you want to be the Gritty of the restaurant industry? Denny's, your call. Your move.
Lead the way, Denny's. We can get inappropriate in a Denny's again. It's like if Second Life and Denny's and also those like little like goggles things you put on with your phone had a baby. Augmented reality Denny's experience. You can eat the real Denny's in front of you. I'm just saying.
Please do not try and have a baby inside the virtual Denny's experience.
Give me $1 million. Thanks.
And we can make that happen, actually. So, yeah.
Anyway, speaking of giving me $1 million, if you actually wanted to do that, you could at patreon.com/.
Please don't use Patreon. Contact us, and we will work out a cashier's check or a briefcase full of money or something. It's like they get a percentage. That'd just be a lot for. I mean,
they don't need that
for the scheduling. But you get it. That's a big check.
Yeah, we got like a PayPal. They only take like 1% or whatever. I don't know.
No. Let's get a paper instrument for that. But in any case,
you know what? I will defer to the attorney.
Less than $1 billion.
Self-addressed stamped envelope.
Oh boy. Well, anyway,
you'll find a little box. Put it in there.
You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. We cut out clips of these now so that if you don't want to watch the parts where we're just like yelling about virtual Denny's, you can skip directly to the parts where we sound like smart people with good points. That is youtube.com.
Just Rachel sitting there. You and I are gone.
youtube.com/notsafemedia. Subscribe to us there. That actually does like theoretically give us money in the long run, which, you know, yay.
I'll make another Gmail account. Like it from there.
You know, make 6 and play it a bunch of times. Leave it on repeat while you're at work. Let us, you know, proselytize at your dog or whatever. Like, it's fine. It's great. It's
or just put it on mute and minimize it. It's
mutual aid.
I mean, especially if you're gaming, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, actually, this is kind of like the anti-gaming elixir. So you have to do it. It's like an indulgence for the Catholic Church, but for gaming.
See, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, but under our particular brand of socialism, there is a moral equivalent.
I'm ending this now. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. We will see you again on Friday.